Okay, you guys are ready to go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Zachary Karen, the chairman of the Dighton Zoning Board of Appeals. It is the 24th of August. Meeting time is 7:02. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom. Michelle, if you could, she is the clerk of the board. If you don't mind, Michelle, just reading the notice that's on the top of the agenda regarding the filming.
Sure. Due to the COVID-19, this public hearing will be held remotely with no physical meeting location. Those seeking to provide public input should do so by using the methods listed below. Video and audio of the meeting will be aired on local TV Channel 9 at a later date. A live recording of the meeting will be available on the Town of Dighton's YouTube channel, which can be accessed using this link, www.youtube.com/Town of Dighton. Those seeking to participate in the virtual Zoom public hearing may join the meeting at this link, www.bit.ly/DightonZBA-08-24-2020. Attendees will be muted during the meeting and will be unmuted during public input for each case. Public input can also be submitted in advance or during the hearing via phone at 508-669-6431, extension 119, or email at jgray, Gray, at Dighton-ma.gov. Must include the subject property address as well as your own address for the record.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So that being said, I was going to introduce the board members. Zachary Karen, I'm the chairman of the board. That was Michelle Lima. She's the clerk. We have Greg Logan, who is the vice chair. We have Jonathan Gray. He's the office manager. And we have Peter Karen. We have Jonathan Gale. And I believe Ryan's joining us tonight, too, as well as they're the three they're board members who will take part in votes. All right, so do we have nothing left from last meeting except for the case that we have on Elm Street? Jonathan, just correct me if I'm wrong. That was case 02-202. That was a 2792 Elm, correct?
That is correct.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to the applicant first, just to refresh everyone's memory. There was possible they were going to come forth with some altered plans, new plans regarding some of the discussion we had. So I'm just going to turn it over to them and see if they have anything that they want to present today. So whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Roy Delano from Lighthouse Land Surveying, 27 Jefferson Street in Taunton, Mass. I'm here tonight representing Donna Canavan and John Zazmuda. And we did alter the plans to some extent. We changed lot 2. We eliminated the 50-foot strip that went out to create 8 acres. And we kind of pinched it off as Mr. Logan had suggested. And we made a 50,000 square foot lot there. It's all upland, there's no wetlands. Again, the house has its own well and septic. So we've reconfigured that to allay any fears of future development out that 50-foot strip. We have also met with Mr. Perry, the abutter to the south, who had concerns about the stone wall and some rocks that were precariously on the ledge near his property. And I marked that property line for him and met with him, and he was satisfied. The rocks are all on his property and he can remove them and get rid of that dangerous situation that he had up and over that ledge. We also added a 10-foot no-cut buffer along his property. Right now, there's a natural 6 to 8 foot buffer of brush and trees. As you're traveling south on Elm Street, at this time of year, you cannot even see his house through that buffer. So keeping a 10-foot no-cut buffer there will assure that, that he has his privacy there. The other thing we added was a 20-foot no-cut buffer. One of the abutters to the south, where 2 retreat lots were created, had a concern. So we put a 20-foot buffer there. Even though the terrain, it drops tremendously from that property toward the proposed house. And I don't believe that anybody up on the retreat lots will see that proposed house because of the great drop in the terrain there. But we put a buffer in there that no trees would be cut for 20 feet there. So those are the changes that we made on the plan.
And have those been submitted to the board?
They have.
They have. Okay, yeah. I'm just only because I'm taking the call today just with audio. I just can't see if any plans were put up. That's all.
Yeah, we submitted them about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else? Any questions for the applicant that the board has regarding the plans and if they were satisfactory to what we were looking for?
Chairman Greg Logan.
Yep.
I got a couple questions in regards to this. So lot 1 and lot 2, across the frontage, we have 200.75 square feet, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
The frontage is, yes, 200.75 feet, yes.
So there is no water going by this road, correct?
That's correct.
So it's 250 feet of frontage for a Form A lot.
Yes,
And we right now only have 200.75, so we're still short 49.25 square feet, lineal feet.
that is
And
correct.
you're asking us to make 2 lots. So it looks like lot 2 and lot 1, no matter how we look at it, would be non-conforming.
That's correct.
And can I ask you a question? What was the reason why you guys didn't do a retreat lot?
We had originally proposed a retreat lot, and when Jim Aguirre looked at it, he felt that house number 2792 didn't qualify because he feels the retreat lot specifies new construction. If that house was torn down, we could easily get 2 retreat lots there.
So that would be a total of what, 3 houses?
No, we would just try to get 2. If the house was,
But I'm saying let's just say that you had to go for the retreat, you would end up getting 3 houses out there. If
we would have only gone for 2.
You're only gone for 2.
Yep. Yeah, because of the septic system, the driveway configuration. We originally had the plans drawn up for 2 retreat lots with 8 acres for lot 2. And it met all the requirements as far as size goes. And obviously frontage, because we had well more than 40 feet on the second lot. But Jim's interpretation, and I agree with it, is after further looking at it, the bylaw just specify new construction. So the only way we get a retreat lot on that lot 2 would be to tear the house down, and it's really not feasible at this point.
And
So this
Jonathan
is
Gray, just hi, Greg.
So this is your hardship is because the house is sitting where it's location, so you're making a hardship by trying to subdivide this. Do you agree with me on that?
I would not agree with that. I think the hardship is the shape and topography of the property. The fact that it's been in the family for 72 years. The 2 owners are brother and sister, and they were left the property by their parents. And during the 72 years, the zoning has changed maybe several times. 72 years ago, you probably could have put 3 or 4 houses there. At a minimum, the state code in the 50s was 50 feet of frontage with 5,000 square feet. So our hardship is that the shape, topography, 35 acres of land, very wide once you get out about 400 feet. And the fact that the zoning has changed and the ownership hasn't changed. They've done nothing to create substandard lots.
But neither one of the petitioners are gonna live in either one of these houses. Am I correct on that?
No, the lot 1 is a neighbor who grew up there wants to build on lot 1. Lot 2 would probably be sold to someone else.
I'm all set at this time.
And this is
Okay.
Jonathan
Well,
Gale.
good.
So my first question is, because I'm a little bit confused still, are you asking us to approve a retreat lot?
No, Mr.
We
Gale.
cannot do that, Jonathan.
That's
on their
why I'm
planning
asking. That's
board.
why I want to be clear.
Yeah,
Because we can't approve a retreat lot. That has to be done by the planning board. So I want to be clear that you're not asking us to approve a retreat lot, first of all.
No, we are not. No. No,
Okay.
we couldn't do a retreat lot because we didn't have, we
So-
would have left lot 2 with 8 acres, but it wouldn't have had the frontage. So it wouldn't have been allowable to create a retreat lot and leave that lot 2 with a house on it with less than 250 feet of frontage.
So I mean, part of my concern is that for both lots, tell me how you feel you've met the legal requirements, because what I'm understanding is that this would be require 2 separate variances for the
It would
frontage.
require 2 frontage variances. That's
Correct. So is that what you, because is that what's stated in your petition? I don't remember seeing that or listening to it.
Yes, yes, that is.
Okay. Give me 1 minute.
And
me ask-
just so go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, I was just going to clarify that just the board knows that, and Dad, Peter, Karen, and John, you can back me up on the exact wording of the law if you guys know it or have it, but we are not the permit granting authority on retreat lots. So whether he wanted one or not, it would not be our place to approve it anyway.
Yeah,
And
so,
I think that law changed a couple of years ago, right, Dad?
so
Or last year, maybe?
I'll just
Yes, it did.
speak to this. I'm just going to stop sharing. The retreat lot bylaw is a special permit through the planning board. And so the special permit granting authority is the planning board, the Dayton Planning Board for retreat lots. So there is no provision within the Town of Dayton zoning bylaw for the Zoning Board of Appeals to grant a retreat lot. So the applicant is not able to get a retreat lot from us, nor are they asking for a retreat lot from us. They are sort of in effect asking for a retreat lot. I mean, so we can theoretically add conditions that would make it such that it is seemingly a retreat lot, but we are not granting a retreat lot, which would be a special permit, which is a different process than the variance, which we're currently deciding tonight.
And Jonathan Gray, if you can just verify, I know Jonathan Gale he was just clarifying that they did in fact apply for 2 variances. Is that correct, Jonathan Gray?
Yeah, so I believe their application was sufficient for what they need. I can pull up their application, but as far as what they need, I did have the Marguerite Mitchell, who's the ZBA's attorney, we had asked her to provide an opinion on the case. So I can read that if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, that's fine.
I think that makes sense because there are several conditions potentially that we would probably want to have open for discussion here. And rather than try to remember them one by one, it's important to put it up there.
Exactly. Yep.
Sure. Let me just see if I can find it here.
And I will say for the applicant at this point, once you've heard the conditions or read the conditions, you may not be able to answer or respond to all that tonight, and you may decide it's important to continue this again and have further discussion on it. So,
So, yeah,
That-
they can respond until we make a motion to
Oh, absolutely.
close the public hearing, which we haven't done yet. So,
no, we haven't. I
yeah,
just
we
want to
have-
let them know that there's
okay,
nothing etched in stone here.
okay.
Yeah, so for some reason, Zoom is not, it is continuously giving me the wrong document. So I'm just going to read it into the record, and I won't be able to share it on my screen, but this hopefully will suffice. All right, so Attorney Mitchell responded, "Hi, Jonathan. As requested, I have reviewed the application and applicable law relating to the question of whether or not a series of conditions that establish a deed restriction for this property could be imposed should the ZBA decide to grant the requested variance. While I do not believe that conditions establishing a deed restriction prohibiting future subdivision of the property would be contrary to the law in this case, if the board were to decide to grant a variance, this should only be done if the board were to find a variance to be warranted in this situation. While I do not feel that conditions establishing a deed restriction are appropriate in all instances, especially most situations where the board has a pending special permit application, here, where the deed restriction would not be tied to continued ownership of the land by the applicant, and the request is for a dimensional, not a use variance, conditions establishing a deed restriction prohibiting further subdivision of the property, unless otherwise allowed by the zoning bylaw, would not be invalid if the board determines that it is inappropriate to grant a variance to begin with. Although the discussion of a retreat lot has been raised with this application, the only way for a retreat lot to be established is via a special permit from the planning board under the terms of the zoning bylaw. The ZBA has no authority to create a retreat lot. As such, this application is an application to subdivide a currently non-conforming lot to create two non-conforming lots, one with 160 feet of frontage and one with 40 feet of frontage. It is also shaped like a pork chop or funnel shaped lot. Thus, I believe that a variance from the definition of lot area would also be required for the applicant to properly be able to build on proposed lot 1, assuming the board decides to grant or conditionally grant a variance to allow for the subdivision of the current property into two non-conforming lots, with lot 1 having 40 feet of frontage. The legal requirements for a variance must be determined to exist in each case for the board to grant these variances. Should the board find that the necessary legal requirements for granting a variance does exist in this situation and thereafter decide to grant the variances, I suggest the following conditions should be included. Condition 1. No more than one single-family dwelling unit shall be located on lot 1. 2. Lot 1 shall not be further subdivided, and it is a condition of this variance that there is a prohibition against further subdivision. A deed restriction preventing further subdivision enforceable by the town of Dayton shall also be recorded with the plan. No building permit shall issue without proof that the restriction has been recorded. The following note shall be placed on the final plan. Quote, lot 1 shall not be further subdivided, end quote. And quote, no building permit shall be issued for lot 1 until a copy of the recorded deed restriction and special permit is delivered to the zoning board of appeals, end quote. Condition 4. At the time of filing the Form A plan submitted to the planning board for endorsement after grant of the variance, the applicant shall also provide a covenant in a form acceptable to the planning board and the zoning board of appeals prohibiting further division of lot 1 in perpetuity. 5. Access from the lot 1 to the principal structure on lot shall be within the boundary lines of said lot and shall not be via a right-of-way or any public or private easement over an adjacent lot. 6. Frontage of lot 1 shall be situated entirely on a public way. 7. Lot 1 shall comply with the Dayton zoning bylaw and subdivision rules and regulations except as allowed by these variances. Condition 8, existing drainage patterns shall not be disrupted by the construction of the proposed driveway on lot 1. A grading plan showing existing and proposed conditions may be subject to appropriate conditions or safeguards and shall be filed with the building inspector prior to issuance of a building permit. 9, underground utilities shall be provided for lot 1. And condition 10, the house number for lot 1 shall be clearly visible from the street. And that's from Marguerite Mitchell, the ZBA's attorney.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the board members have any comments or anything on what she said, and or any further questions for the applicant?
I think I'd like to hear what the applicant's thoughts are on all of that first, in terms of what they want to do or comply with, or what they feel they can't, or how that might change anything.
Okay.
Yes, what I read, I got a copy of that letter from the town council. And what I'm seeing there is she's providing you a way, without obviously granting a retreat lot, because you can't do that, a way to grant variances, but still all those conditions are what a retreat lot requires. And our plan was prepared. I kept it so that we complied with everything that a retreat lot is. So I think she's provided you with a way, if you deem that a variance is the variances are warranted, she's provided you a way to go ahead and do that. And with those conditions, which we don't disagree at all with those conditions, the town is getting what they intend for a back lot, retreat type lot anyway. So she's basically provided that with the granting of a variance for the lot 1 and lot 2. That's how I read it. I don't know if anybody else reads it differently.
I do know that this is Jonathan Gale. I do know that and Greg, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, and anyone else too, but I think there's some question also about the pork chop lot, in terms of the type of lot it is. It's my understanding that there have been requests before for variances in that same local area of town for lots similar to this, and that they have not been granted.
In most areas of town, Jonathan, actually, it's not something that the board that is currently, before, that we have right now, or boards
Right.
before us, it's not typically something that they do.
That's what I'm getting
Greg,
at.
can you put up the map real quick?
It's not something that's typically done. And it's also my understanding that, obviously there's the right to appeal if that's the case, but that in other cases, those appeals have not been won out. And I don't know about all. I don't have
I'm not sure.
and I don't have the legal documents in front of me at this point. But I know that there's a concern about whether or not by doing this, we're setting a precedent.
I can tell you that I respect Miss Mitchell's. I respect her very much, but I do not agree with the lot area, because I've got the zoning bylaw that covers lot area. And if we create a funnel shape or excessively gerrymandered lot, which I don't believe this is, for the sole purpose of evading the intent of the bylaw for density, and if we do not demonstrate that we have 100 by 100 foot square, then yes, it could be considered a pork chop, gerrymandered lot, rat tail, whatever you want to call it. But we do demonstrate with 100 by 100 square, and we could put that 100 by 100 square in 20 other places on the lot and still conform. So the lot area, the bylaw that covers gerrymandering or pork chop is only if you're evading the intent of the zoning bylaw. And if anybody has the lot area requirement, the final line says, if you do not have a building square of a 100 by 100, then you are evading the intent of the bylaw. And we certainly demonstrate we can do that anywhere on this lot. So that's my opinion on the lot area. We've done Form A plans that the building inspectors reviewed. As long as we always have that 100 by 100 foot, doesn't matter really if you have some gerrymandering. And there's a little bit of gerrymandering here, but it's not excessive. And the bylaw for lot area specifically says excessive gerrymandering. So we've got the 100 by 100 square at the proposed house location. Nowhere, we don't have it somewhere where we couldn't put the house. And we could move that house and have 100 by 100 foot square anywhere on that lot. So I think we really do not need a lot area variance for this.
Okay, Greg, do you have anything?
Yeah, in the past, what you're stating is the pork chop lot, which is the topography of the land, the angles that we've designed, that you've came in front of us with the original one. We had to change to this now, to this lot 2 and lot 1. We had to change that 50-foot buffer going down the property line. But my biggest thing that I'm coming up with after doing some research and listening to what Marguerite stating is that there's 2 things of my concerns here. Well, it's actually 1. It's the frontage. All right. It's 250 feet of frontage versus 175 because there's no town water. 2, you're taking a non-conforming lot before we even started doing lot 1 to lot 2. We don't have the frontage that's consistent. I understand that they've lived there for it's been in the family for over 70 years, and that they want to put lot 1 with 40 feet with a 10-foot no buff zone, remaining balance of, I don't know, is it 160 for the lot 2? Making 2 non-conforming lots when what I'm seeing here, and after reviewing the retreat lot, I mean, if we knock the house down, you could get 2 retreat lots. It could be up to 3 houses on that piece of property by going in front of planning. And we wouldn't have to deal with 2 non-conforming conditions. That's it's really the only concern I have with the whole deal. I mean, I like the idea you want to put a single home in the back, but the hardship is, I understand you're saying it was done over 40, 50, 60 years ago before zoning. And, but I just don't, I'm having a hard time with the frontage. That's all I'm really coming up with. But
I'm wondering what the neighbors in the area would prefer, whether they prefer 3 lots, 3 houses, or they prefer 1 house tucked way behind a prominent ledge outcrop that no one will ever see. I hope the board in the last month that we've had has traveled down Elm Street and seen the 7 other properties that variances were granted for frontage of 40 feet. And many of them left the existing house with less than even what we have, 160 feet. I counted today 7 properties within a half mile there with frontages that range from 99 to 160 feet, which is what we're proposing for lot 2.
And you're saying they have an existing house on the property before they started, is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. And that's not out of character with the neighborhood. And if you drove down Elm Street since the last meeting, you'd look up and you'd see these driveways that are, you hardly notice them. Sometimes you see the house that people have built out back. You're never going to see this house. It's been done all over town. We've surveyed the whole town and we see it everywhere. We had one on Maple Swamp Road that this 30-acre parcel was divided into 3 33-foot lots. So the precedent all over town is that, on a this is 34 acres, Greg. This is much, I think it's much more amenable to the neighborhood to put a house out back. And if any of you walked up there, I mean, we made the offer that anybody could go on the site and walk it. But if you walked up that country woods road up there, saw where the house was going to go, you would see that no one would ever see that house. No one would hear anything there because there's a huge ledge outcrop. And if you happen to walk the property, you see that. This is not out of character. 7 other properties on Elm Street within a half mile have been granted in the past frontage variances. The boards, I'm sure there were very qualified people on the boards that saw the hardship of 34 acres. You have 34 acres. And you just don't have the frontage. And it is legal frontage right now. It's just legal non-conforming. And yes, we'd leave one lot with 160 feet, but as I mentioned, right within the neighborhood, I've got a 57-foot lot, a 99-foot lot, a 120-foot lot, 125, 107, 106, and 160 within a half mile, not out of character. That neighborhood would, you'd never notice this house out there. You'd see a dirt driveway, a gravel driveway.
Roy, I'm not denying that there's small house lots in that whole area. I grew up on Elm Street. I grew up down by the convent, right down the street.
Yep.
I used to deliver the paper throughout this whole neighborhood. I've hunted the back of them land. I understand what you have back there. What I'm stating is that we've developed what we call the retreat lot for a perfect example for this type of condition. And the only, like you're stating, is there's some small house lots. And I'm trying to picture where you're saying we have another house next to, within a half mile of this house, that's behind another house that has a retreat, has less frontage, and we made a non-conforming lot. That's one thing I'm trying to picture it.
Well, I've got the house numbers. I do have the house numbers if you'd like them.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Number 2682. Number 2896.
Hold on, 2682.
Yep.
I'm looking it up as we speak. So, okay, so I'm going to 2682.
2682.
Peter Karen, do you have anything to add to this right now?
Yeah, I'm never in favor of taking a non-conforming lot and creating two non-conforming lots. I don't see the hardship on this, as well as I can't buy the argument that 60 years ago this would have been acceptable. Yes, it would have, but zoning has changed for a reason, because the town voted the changes in, and they want 250 feet of frontage. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people, lots in Dayton that have 250 feet of frontage that would love to have a pork chop lot and relieve themselves of expenses. But
And I think that's part of the
don't see
issue.
a hardship here.
Peter, this is Jonathan. I was going to say, I think that's part of the concern, is that it's my understanding we've denied this in the past.
Yes, we have.
And if we vote to do this now, this opens up a huge, through no fault, obviously, of the applicant, but this opens up an enormous can of worms.
Yeah, and Jonathan, and I completely agree with you on that. And I think I don't think personally, you know, as a voting member, a reason to, I mean, I don't think me denying it, the reason is not going to be, oh, I just don't want it to be, now everyone else is going to want it too. I personally think that I understand what he's saying about what he thinks the hardship is, but I don't think that's a hardship. I don't think it's a hardship due to the shape and topography of and soil of the lot, naturally the way that it is. I mean, Greg, Dad, I don't know how you feel about that, but I mean, I think, Greg, you already said you didn't see the hardship. What about you, Jonathan?
I don't think personally, I mean, keep in mind, first of all, visually, I can't see it. And I want to preface that because I have to go on what I'm hearing and what I understand and what I know when I could see it one time. And so I have to picture this, okay? Having said that, I don't see that this is a hardship in this way. I'd rather, I don't know, right now, I can't see this as being a hardship.
All right, I'm looking at the property of 2682 Elm Street. It's either Kingsley or it's Carr. Percy Kingsley is on the right, going down towards 138, and Carr is on the left, where the old schoolhouse used to be, and his father lived in the house beside it, and his daughter built the house up the street. So at the time of that dividing of that particular piece, if it is Carr, that was one long parcel at one time, and that was well over 285 feet of frontage when they put that house towards the back, and then they subdivided it when the grandfather passed. Now, if it's Percy Kingsley across the street, That's an undeveloped piece, but I don't see it
No,
over there.
There are none on the other side of the street.
Yeah, I didn't think there was. I know they've come in front of us to do some stuff over there, but they're getting water. We've talked to them. They're gonna grab water from 138 and bring it up so they can get the frontage down and do what they were gonna work on the right. But looking at the left, then they got
Nothing on the
the
left.
solar farm is right next door to this particular property as well, I believe.
So number 2682,
Yeah.
the variance was granted for 67 feet of frontage. Number 2896 was 141 feet of frontage. 2978 was for 41 feet of frontage.
2978.
Yeah, 2978. And number 3048 was for 39 feet and then another 16 on the other side of a cemetery. And the driveway goes through that number 16.
Yeah, and I remember that particular one, that their hardship was the cemetery by the street.
Yeah, I actually remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Delango, I believe their last name was, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I do remember that case. I'm very familiar with this area. That's one thing. I'm not opposed to what you're trying to do, Roy. I'm just stating is that I feel that the petitioner, with after reading more of our new retreat lot, they could do the retreat lot without having us to make any call on this. But I'm just one member, Roy. I mean, I'm just saying on that. But what was that one that had 31 feet, Roy? Was that the one that I just mentioned with the cemetery?
There was 41 feet at 2978.
2978.
Jonathan Gray, maybe this is Jonathan Gale, with your history, if you have it there, of when things were changed or the bylaws were changed. Do we know when were the bylaws changed versus when these others were granted? Do we have that information?
Oh, geez.
Fortunately, Mr. Gale, I don't have that information handy.
One member mentioned that you have denied these in the past, but clearly you have done it the boards have done it many times where they granted these. And there must have been, the boards at that time must have felt there was a shape. You can't do it financial. It can't be totally financial hardship. That's clear. It's got to be shape, topography. And yeah, sure, you've denied it. Would you be setting a bad precedent? No, because you've got 34 acres of land here. How many other people have 34 acres of land? And it's 500 feet wide once you get back about 400 feet. I just don't, the town has the zoning boards throughout the last 20 to 30 years, all over town. They did it on Maple Swamp Road, right near, we did surveys for John Gendron and Neil McDonald. So we tied into those surveys, 33 feet of frontage. That it was 30-acre parcel that was subdivided. You know, what was the reasoning of the board at that time? Smart people have been on the board that have felt there was a hardship, shape and topography.
It wasn't a hardship on that particular case. It was the contractor owned the 33 acres as well as another contractor butted him with another 100 some odd acres, and they were going to develop it if we didn't stop it. So that's why we felt that it was easy to have one house there as opposed to having a contractor develop what was going to be 100, almost 150 acres.
So we're looking at one more house lot on 34 acres. Yeah, Greg, we could tear the house down and get 3 retreat lots. What would the neighbors like? I'm sure all the abutters, I don't know if any are here tonight, I'm sure they prefer one hidden house out back.
I want to bring one thing up to you, Roy. 2930 Elm Street, that's Kevin Carpenter's house. And the piece that you see that goes out towards the back, that was an undeveloped section that was sold to Miranda. And Miranda put that section in up in the back over there. I think I mentioned to you about Mr. Miranda in the past surrounding this property. So that house that's out in the back, Roy, was not Kevin Carpenter's piece of property. That was sold. And Miranda had purchased that all the way over to the abutter, which I believe is Perry. But I'm not. What's that, sir?
Still, there was a variance granted for that. So
I still have to say, this is Jonathan Gale, that my question as well is, when were I wasn't on this committee when the bylaws were changed, and you know, for the entire process, including retreat lot, and I would still want to know, when were the bylaws changed versus when were these others granted? And we may not know that answer right now because it's, Roy, what you're saying, I'm sure is the case. I wasn't on the, as I said, on this CBA board at the time. However, it may have been prior to a change.
Well, certainly there was never frontages less than 16, 39, 41, 141. The frontages have always been a minimum of 175 for 40 years probably. And then they were increased where there were no water to 250.
I'm looking at the
Really, the
bylaw book
only
that I have in front of me. 1981 was business, 1985 was Miller Lane extension, 1991. So it goes all the way back to 1969. So the zoning bylaws were adopted. And then it goes all the way through and there's different case laws, enforcements, locations and things like that. So 1969, Dayton adopted the zoning bylaw.
Thank you.
Well, I would really like the board to consider the fact that this is really not out of character. It's been done several times on Elm Street. The remaining house will have 160 feet of frontage, which is more than characteristic of many of the other houses on that street. I don't think you're setting a bad precedent. I don't think a lot of other people could come in. And most people are going to use the retreat lot. And again, we would have used it if we didn't have to tear down the house, but that house has got character. It's 150 years old, probably something like that. Why tear down something like that when it's really not feasible? And I don't think the neighbors want 3 driveways going up in the back there with 3 retreat lots. Already 1 lot removed to the south, the developer put 2 retreat lots with 40 feet of frontage. We're asking 1 40-foot frontage lot with 160 with the house. You drive by that if you granted variances, you drive by that parcel and it wouldn't look any different than it does now. You'd have 1 hidden house. And again, this is by no means, I respect the board. And this is not I know the word threat comes out, but a developer could take that land and put a lot of houses in there. And again, not a threat, but that could happen. And if you grant a variance and put these conditions of no further subdivision, that guarantees there's going to be 1 house on 34 acres. There'll never be another house on that 34 acres. And I think the neighbors, if they were here tonight, or they were in a room if we didn't have COVID, they'd all be applauding the fact there'd be 1 more house rather than, well, that's 34 acres. There could be a lot of houses up there, just like they did on Country Lane further up in North Dayton. Could be a lot of houses there. And I think the neighbors would embrace one more house. And I don't think you're setting a bad precedent because you've done it. The boards, not you, not your board, but many boards have in the past granted these frontage variances. And this is a unique case. That's part of proving hardship. This is unique. This is 34 acres of land. You know, if you want to continue that property, I'm sure you'd be convinced that that's the right way to treat this property, to allow 1 more house on it. And
What was the last thing you just said, Roy? You cut it out a little bit.
well, if it takes continuing it 1 more month for all the board members to walk up there and see what this would look like, to get a feel for one more house compared to a road with many lots, 1 house back up behind, it's gorgeous up there. You walk up this woods road, it curls around a huge ledge outcrop. If anybody's ever been up there, it's amazing ledge outcrop. And the house would be tucked further behind that. No one's ever going to see it. You'd go up there and you'd say, wow, this is a gorgeous spot for 1 more house lot. It just makes sense. It really does make sense. And I appeal to the board to really think of it in that regards.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to let you know, since you're not on the Zoom call physically, we do have several neighbors who are here. So at some point, we might want to open up public input to them as well.
Okay. Let's just wrap up first with the applicants. The board members, if they have any more questions.
Michelle,
So if anyone does,
is Michelle with us?
yes, she is.
Yeah, Michelle, and do you have any thoughts?
I'm just taking it all in, quite honestly. I'm just listening to everything. I read Marguerite's letter. I mean, I'm just listening to all of it. I would like to hear what the neighbors have to say, though. If there's, I know that there's Stephanie on here. I think she was on last time too, so I'm not sure if she would like to add something when we do open that up.
All right, if the members don't have anything else, I don't mind turning over the first abutter. So, when we do that, John Gray, if you can just lead them for me since I can't see them.
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan.
Yep.
I do know the property and I do understand, Roy, where you're coming from. The property is a beautiful piece back there. It's all cedar trees. It's got a nice ledge. The only concern that I have, and I'm only one person, is I love the way you designed the back piece. I think it's feasible. The only thing I got concerned is the frontage. Are we open a precedent when we have now adopted a retreat lot? That's where I'm a little nervous. After reading some literature on it, that's where I'm concerned. But other than that, I'm not having an issue with what you've designed at all.
All right, so John, when you're ready, you turn it over to any abutter.
Sure. Stephanie,
Just-
since you
just
were
a remind-
mentioned, do you have, I'll open it up. Stephanie, if you could just give us your name and address so we have it as well.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Stephanie. I live at 2770 Elm Street, so right next door to Lot 2 on the proposal. I mean, personally, I would feel a lot better with one home going in there, but I am very concerned about, potentially once we do subdivide the lot, if, potentially down the road, if there's more room for other developments to go into the area. So I wouldn't want to see that happen. So I would be in favor of the restricted deed. That's something I had mentioned last time. And obviously, I would rather them not raise the home right next to my house for, possibly building another home right behind me or right next door to me. So again, maybe if just we put in place that, I'd be okay with subdividing at this one time and just allowing one house, but just to, ensure for the future that just to prevent other things from being built, just to do a restricted deed, I think I'd feel a lot better with that.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay.
I'm going to go next. Cynthia Robbins, if you have any input on this, feel free. And please, if you could give us your address as well.
Yes, it's Cynthia Robbins. I'm at 2771. I'm right across the street from Stephanie. I agree with Stephanie. I feel like I don't really have an objection as long as we are guaranteed somehow that it is just the one house that is put back there, and there isn't the possibility of more houses going in there. If that were the case, then I would say, I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right, John. Is there anyone else, Jonathan?
Yes. Richard and Joan Salvi, are you guys on? All right, I'm going to move on to Mr. Perry. If you could for us, give us your address once again.
Yes, we're on.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry, Mr. Perry. I'll open it up to Richard and Joan first. If you could please give us your address.
2870 County Street, Dayton.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
And feel free, do you have a input on this case?
We have no objections to what they want to do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perry? Mr. Perry, I think you're still muted.
Can anyone hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you a little bit.
No, we cannot hear you. No, barely.
Mr. Perry, maybe try hopping off the meeting and joining back on without.
Is this any better?
Yes.
It's yeah, we can hear you. Just try to speak directly into it.
I apologize. Brett Perry, 2822 Elm Street. I live directly adjacent to proposed Lot 1. I see no objections with what they're proposing here, being that it would be just one house. I would feel less comfortable if they were to turn this into, let's say, 3 house lots over there because of raising the original house. I live in a house that was built in 1910, they say is the earliest, the latest. So I do like the old houses in the area. It's it fits very well. And where they have proposed with Mr. Delano and Ken have, the proposed house lot 1 really is an area that you won't see the house. I do understand the board's reasoning for not wanting to get involved on this frontage issue, but I have to almost side with Mr. Delano and say that this is, if we will, the least of all evils. I think this would fit the area the best.
Okay. Thank you. And is there anyone else, John?
I don't believe so. I don't see anyone else, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there any member of the town or any of the town boards that are on this call that have anything or no?
I don't see anyone else.
Okay, and there's no public input that's coming over the phone or the email.
Good point. I haven't received a phone call.
I'm just looking to be considering closing the public hearing, so I wanted to just double check everything to make sure we had any kind of last minute things before we think about doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for reminding me. I checked my email, have not received anything there, and haven't received anything in the past few weeks either. So I think we've got everything here.
Okay. So before I do entertain that motion, is there any people, the voting members, is there anything you want to discuss with the applicant or ask the applicant or the abutters before we close the public input? Obviously, we can continue discussing, but we wouldn't be able to field any more comments from them. So is there anything else that you
Mr.
guys
Chairman, Greg Logan.
Yep.
I just have one. This is for Jonathan Gray. Has the building inspector reached out to this on this matter and given any concerns or any matters or any? Have you reached out to the building department on this or just Marguerite?
Yeah,
we reached out. We haven't heard anything yet.
You haven't heard anything from Jim?
Yeah, I did reach out to Jim. I spoke with him on the phone. He hasn't provided anything in writing. He obviously was concerned about, precedent regarding, retreat laws and that sort of thing, retreat lot. And, this sort of being something that the ZBA, if they approve, could potentially open up us to more cases like this. So that was really his main concern.
This is Jonathan.
Okay. Yep, good.
I was going to say, I don't know why, but I have the impression that there might be some separate question marks that our committee's council would have, even for the building inspector, as it relates to this and so forth.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah.
So I think what I would like to suggest, and because I think that we really, I don't disagree. Even again, I can't see it, but I don't disagree with what Roy is saying in terms of what he wants to do. From a logical point of view, on the surface, it makes probably great sense. But I think we really need to look at where we're at, and we need to get the opinion more directly of our council and also of the building inspector. So I would suggest that we consider continuing this to another session at Roy's suggestion, so that we get this done right. I'll put it that way, and that we consider asking both the building inspector and our council to be present at that meeting.
I'll be honest.
I'll just note.
Go ahead.
I did make a request that our building inspector was here for the first hearing, and
we did. Yeah.
He was not able to make it. So, if we continue the case to a specific date, there's no guarantee that we would have the building commissioner present.
No, and I realize that. So I think I would want to ask, through the chair, to ask you, Jonathan, to work a date out for both of them to be present.
or at least I prefer that, at the very, very least, have something solid in writing from him saying exactly what it is that he felt about it, because obviously, we have to cover all our bases, and I know Jonathan here, you don't even know, not that you don't know, I don't mean it that way, but you don't want to put words in his mouth and suggest something that he said that, may not have been 100% accurate. So that's when John Gray told me, a while ago that, we were unable to get in contact with him. In my mind, I'm like, I have a hard time, if we know that he's giving us feedback, which clearly he does have some regarding it, but nothing solid. It's hard for me to just make a decision when he's one of our experts that we go to, but there's nothing concrete, and obviously I'm not at all faulting him, but personally I just have a hard time voting on anything until I have some solid, hardcore evidence or facts from him as to how he feels.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm comfortable with not having Marguerite. We've already got, Marguerite giving us her decision. She wrote a decision. She already wrote some of her concerns and questions if it was to be approved and if it wasn't going to be approved. I just don't want to spend our money with legal counsel, and I believe we have the answers right here in front of us. We are setting precedents. I'm just saying, Zach, we are setting precedents by allowing two non-conforming lots when we have one that's taking a non-conforming lot and making two non-conforming lots.
And
that's the whole idea of making a retreat lot. I'm not opposed. I hear what all the abutters state. I just think that I'd like to hear from Peter Karen on a couple matters on this, because he's been around with this matter for a while as well. And I think between what you're about to hear right next, I think is going to help the board decide what we should do here.
John, Greg, before we do go to Peter Karen, one thing to that, and someone please stop me if I'm wrong, but you're right. He goes to, let's say the option is he goes to the planning board, gets the retreat lot. Okay, well, if he's so adamant about not putting 3 houses on it, just because he can, it's like, if he's so sure that he's not going to, it doesn't matter if he's already put 7 there. If whatever happens, if he says no, we only want to put the 1, then it doesn't matter what he gets from them either way, right?
Mr. Chairman, hold on. I just want to let you know, it seems a little muffled on your end, so I'm not sure if you're holding your phone a little bit weird. It's just something I wanted to mention.
Okay.
You want to repeat what you stated, Zach? Because I was coming in.
Sure.
I couldn't understand you.
Yep. So obviously, him going before the planning board and getting a retreat lot, and us hypothetically denying this, could potentially mean he could put 3 there. Well, he has said, there's no need. We don't want to put 3 there. So what does it matter then? Why not have
we're setting precedents by taking
No. I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, so, if the applicants are preferring, no, we don't want to see 3. It's like, well, it seems like he doesn't want to put 3. So even if we did deny this and he goes before planning and gets the retreat lot, that doesn't mean he has to put 3 there.
No, exactly. He could go for a single retreat lot. I'm not trying to say that I'm opposed to what's going on here at all. I'm just saying I'm more worried about what we're about to present and what we're about to open if we allow this, because we are taking, and I understand where Roy's coming from on some matters and certain things, but every piece of property has its own condition. So one piece of property he had brought up, it was the cemetery. Another piece of property could have been the topography of the land, it could have been any little thing. This particular property, where it's a man-made condition, they're making it we're taking a non-conforming lot and making 2 non-conforming lots. There's where I'm a little nervous, that's all.
Well, in all due respect, when you seek variances, you seek relief from nonconformity. That's what variance process is.
Yeah, but we're going for 250 feet per each one down to 40. And then,
but how is it out of character of the neighborhood? And
that's the thing. That's where I'm getting a little, because I know the neighborhood and I know all the lots are small and I hear all the abutters. I understand they're all in favor for having a single house back there. And trust me, I think what you're about to present is great, but I'm worried about precedent. If we allow this, what else are we precedent to? I'm a little
And,
nervous.
and Greg, not only that, I don't think anyone here amongst the board is saying that it is out of character.
Mr. Chairman,
I
you're
think-
muffled again a little bit.
Yep,
But-
sorry. So, Greg, I mean, in fact, you are agreeing that it's not out of character. So I think for that to be the reason as to like, oh, well, we should approve it, it's not out of character. It's like, well, there are other things we got to consider too. In fact, we are saying you're right, it's not out of character, but that's also doesn't mean that's enough for us to approve it either, Greg, right?
No, exactly. I'm not, like I've been saying right along, I think what they've designed is a beautiful piece of property in the back. So I'd like your father to come on board with this, because I know when I started, Mr. Roy keeps saying, the people in the past. Well, when I got on a while back, Peter Karen and Joe Pacheco were on. And those are the two that I've always took my guidance from. And they're very wise, and they have a lot of knowledge about further development, future development, pork chop lots, frontages. And I've always took their advice. And, I'd like to hear what he has to say on it. And I understand what's going on with the butters approving it, and I get it. One driveway definitely is going to be a better deal for the whole process for the neighborhood. But I want you guys to hear what he's about to tell you, because this is pretty much the way I've always been brought through the zoning, and this is the way I've been showed. So I'd like Peter to jump on now.
Sure. One of the rule of thumbs that we used to use is I used to write the decisions myself before Marguerite took over. And she took over because it just became too much. But the bottom line is, what would your reasons be for approving it? Or what would your reasons be for denying it? And those reasons had to be valid. They just can't be as, well, it's something I want, or the neighbors don't care. Like I said, we've set precedents before, so it's not so much that we're going to be setting a precedent here, but we've never allowed a non-conforming lot to become more non-conforming. We don't allow pork chop lots because the zoning changed, and the people voted at the annual town meetings. They didn't want less than 250 feet of frontage. They didn't want pork chop lots. So I understand that as much as there is a desire, the first thing I have always asked is, what's the hardship on this? If they didn't have a house on the lot right now, and they wanted to divide it in half, that would be a reason to come to the Zoning Board of Appeals and ask for relief. But there is a house on the lot. So it's not like you can say, I can't do anything with my lot because it's non-conforming. We'd be willing to grant relief for that. But you are able to use the lot as it is designed. So I come back to what is the hardship? Tell me what I can write down in a decision that would be valid, and not just, well, this is what I would like to do. If you can answer that foremost question, then there's more of a reason to approve it. I understand it's the neighbors, it's their neighborhood. I don't live there, so I can't speak for the neighbors. But yes, they'd rather see one house instead of a development. We've been faced with that question hundreds of times, and so far nobody's ever come back and developed land that they said, well, you didn't let me have one house, so I'm going to put 50 houses on. And I don't think this is the case with this one either. You're in the same situation that, like I said, hundreds of people in Dayton are in. They have 250 feet of frontage, and they like to divide their lot because they don't need that much frontage, but the town doesn't allow it. The town doesn't want it. So again, I ask you, tell me what I can write in that decision that would say this is a valid reason to write the decision to grant relief from this. So far, I haven't heard that. I've heard that, well, 60 years ago, I could have done it. Well, sure. So could everybody else have. That's not a valid reason. So tell me what the hardship is. It's not the shape of the lot, because you are able to use the lot as it is fit for a one house lot. Just because you want to put two houses on there, or maybe if you had the option of putting three houses on there, but it's not a reason to grant it just because, well, one house is better than 50 houses. Tell me what you would write me, what you would like me to write in a decision that says this is the hardship on this land. That's not self-created.
Right.
I've had to do quite a few Board of Appeals hearings, in my career as a land
Sure.
surveyor. The prerequisites for granting a variance are usually spelled out by the town, but it's probably a state type of thing, and it's
Correct.
all got to do with hardship, and it can be financial, but it can't be.
It
that-
can't be
that's just a
solely
small part.
financial.
It's got to be shape, topography, uniqueness of the property, whether you derogate from the intent of the zoning bylaw, whether it's out of character with the neighborhood. I might have repeated
Right,
that.
right. Not to interrupt you because you're very experienced at it, but we're talking two different things. We're talking about somebody who has a existing house and is able to use the land with the shape that it's in. Most of the arguments that come before us is they can't use the land because the shape it is in, and that's where we have a tendency to approve those. But you have use of your land. Roy?
One house on 35 acres.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe back years ago you could farm it, but now I don't know. It's.
So
It's
let me just
unique.
ask you again, and not to repeat myself, what would you like us to put down as far as a reason for granting this?
Well,
Maybe that would make a difference.
I've seen many decisions based on shape, topography, fitting in with the neighborhood. These are all things I've seen in decisions before.
Right, but
That-
95% of those were not able to use their land. Were not able to use the land at all. They didn't have a house on that. So
Perhaps if we continue this a month, we could go and check the 5 to 7 other variances right on Elm Street. And maybe I could go through the whole town and find probably 50 other cases where these types of things, and maybe I could read their decisions and maybe formulate a better way that you could write that up. But, I'm sure based on shape, topography, uniqueness of the land, and character of the neighborhood, that this.
character of the neighborhood is not a hardship.
No, but it's one of the prerequisites for granting of a variance. Derogating from the zoning bylaw. I don't believe you're derogating when you put one house on 32 acres when the width of that lot is going to be 500 feet where the house is going to sit. Yes, you have frontage, a lack of frontage. That's a hardship in this case. The way the farms were developed back then,
To beg to differ, it's not a
shape.
hardship because you're able to use the land as it is. You're able to have an existing house. I'd feel for you if you had no house on there a lot more, because then I could honestly say, well, there's a real hardship. He has 240 feet of frontage and he can't put a house on there because we require 250. That's a legitimate hardship. But you again, I come back to you are able to use the land as it is fit in today's zoning bylaws.
sure, and if they tore down the house, they could get 3 house lots out of it. So what is better for the town? What is better for the townspeople, the neighbors? That's part of your, I would think the zoning boards, you're there to make the town better. You're there to preserve the character of the neighborhood. Preserving the character of the neighborhood would be to have one house rather than 3 or 40 or 50 houses like on Country Way. And, I think that's part of the board's job is to do what's best for the town. And if you have 40 or 50 houses up there, now you've got schools, you got road to maintain, services. One more house lot on 35 acres certainly doesn't derogate from the town.
It does derogate when there's not enough frontage.
Peter,
that's the hang up with me is you're talking so little
you're
frontage.
philosophically against it. I can't do anything about that.
To be honest with you, I'm not against it. But I go back to the question is why should we approve it? What's a valid law that would come up in the event of an appeal that you would, what argument would you use that this is beneficial to the town? Because right now you have one house lot that you're able to use. And I don't see a real reason to grant just dividing the property because you want to.
Well, what would be
But-
more beneficial to the town? 3 houses or 1 additional house?
If you want to tear down the house and put 3 houses on, I don't know whether you would recover the cost of tearing down that house just to build 3 lots for retreat lots.
Maybe that's a hardship.
I'm not necessarily agreeing with that, but I won't disagree with it.
This is Jonathan Gale. I'm just going to ask a hypothetical question, and I have no clue what the answer is. So
Sure.
I'll start with that. But what's to prevent the current landowner, and Roy, I may ask this to you because maybe you can answer, or Peter, what's to prevent the current landowner from building a second home somewhere, I'll put it that way, on that property with the specs, if you will, of the second, what would have been the second lot of the home itself, you know, the actual parcel of building somewhere on there. And as opposed to subdividing, entering into, you know, 100-year lease or lease of perpetuity for X number of acres, including the spot where the house would sit. I'm just trying to think creatively.
Sure. I don't know if that's a possibility or even feasible.
I don't know
I
either.
don't know, Roy, if you have an opinion on that.
Roy has an opinion or something that they've ever discussed. And that's why
I'm
I'm
not-
putting the word in there in perpetuity.
I'm not sure I followed that. What would you have for frontages in that case?
I don't know what that changes because it keeps the land structure itself as is. It's because still remains as one parcel of land. It remains as one parcel
With
with
2
the,
houses on 1 parcel?
correct.
Which you can't do.
And
You
that's
can't
what I'm
have 2
asking.
houses on one lot.
Nowhere else within that acreage, within that
Right.
34 acres.
It doesn't matter if it was 5 acres or
Okay.
1,000 acres.
All right, that's what I'm asking.
Sure.
Just trying to think creatively.
Yeah.
So,
That's okay.
just to maintain the flow of the meeting here. I mean, I guess aside from hearing from what Jim, hearing from myself what Jim has to say, I can't say there's much more that I need to hear to make a decision. So if there's, if I get, if the applicant feels the need that he wants to continue to the next meeting, then we can talk amongst the board and see if we want to make that motion, or if the board just wants to vote. I mean, what are you guys thinking? It's a 3-person board, so I mean, what are you guys feeling?
I'm for letting the petitioner go and do what he had stated with some case law, going around town, coming up with some idea. Like I say, I'm not opposed to the single lot. I don't want to open precedents on the next matter that comes in front of us. Since we had started this new retreat lot in town, it's pretty much like they don't want to knock the house in. I understand that house is an old house. It's in good shape. I get it 100%. I need something like Peter stated that I could put down on there. This is the reason for the decision. So if you could help me out with that, or help the board out with that, I think that's in the best interest for the petitioner as well as the board. Give it another month, come back with some information, then maybe we can make a decision from there.
And this is, I concur with what Greg said, but I also, again, will agree with Zach that I do think we need a written opinion from the building inspector as well. I'd like to have that in conjunction with our legal counsel's opinion.
Yeah, I'll give him a call myself and speak to him, and then, but I will follow that conversation with, we want something, we would prefer if you also submit something in writing if you are unable to make the next meeting. Because I do think, me coming back with saying anything still doesn't really help. It's kind of like, well, the whole point is to hear him and his words, see how he feels about it. So,
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Zach, if you can't reach out to him, if Jonathan Gray is able to reach out to him.
The last time we talked with Jim, all it was, we requested that an email be sent to his department and he would be on the board meeting. That was the last time before Jonathan came. Do you
Yeah.
remember all those things? So I think
Yes, I
realistically,
do.
all we got to do is request him to be at our next meeting via email, and he will be on the meeting.
And so John did do that the first time. He did email him and ask him, but he was unable to attend. So
Okay.
now then obviously the whole point is that tonight we have to if we're going to do this, we have to continue it. We can't wait and see when Jim can make it. So that being said, we have to just take that chance. And at that point, it's going to be, well, if you can't make it, that's fine, but we need something in writing then.
Okay. No, I agree. I just remember that was brought up last time with Jim.
Yep.
As long as he
Yep.
sent an email, he'd do everything in his power to be at our meeting. And I think he'd help us out with a few information on the petitioner's property, let the board know a little more about what's going on. I mean, I believe what we've gotten from Marguerite, and with all the conditions that I don't see the petitioner has any questions on any of the 10 articles that Margarita wrote, and if it was approved to be on it. Am I correct on that? There was no problems with that, right?
On my end, Greg,
Yes.
or?
Yes.
Yeah, the only one I would suggest is the underground utilities because of all the ledge there. That might be very difficult to do.
And I do understand that. It is all ledge up there, yep.
So that would be the only one I would ask that the board not insist upon or waive that one. But, even if the first 250 feet were underground and then once you got into the woods, you wouldn't see anything beyond there anyway. But
sure,
that first 250 feet isn't, I don't think it's too much ledge there. But, if the board were to grant the variances, maybe consider that number 9, the underground utilities. That's the only one. I think no further further subdivision is fine with us. Everything else is patterned after the retreat lot requirements, and we plan to do those anyway. So,
like I say, Roy, I believe what you have proposed is a beautiful lot. I know the property. I just need something to put into the decision for the hardship. If you do some homework, maybe we can get that taken care of, because the retreat lot was written exactly for this type of decision right here, what you're asking us to do.
Exactly.
So that's the only problem this board's having, at least I'm having, after I started reading the bylaw on the retreat law, which I got yesterday, on certain things. So like I say, those are the only things, but I understand you don't want to take the house down because it is a beautiful home, and I know the stone foundation. I just, like I said, I need something like Peter had stated. If we could put something on the decision for the reason of, then I feel more comfortable.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to
Go ahead, Greg.
ask Mr. Delano, if the property wasn't underground utilities for the entire length of the parcel, I guess, to the house, would that affect the fire apparatus accessibility at all?
not at all. We'd keep a 20-foot strip of land, and then the utility poles would be outside of that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan Gale. I guess
Yep.
I will make a motion.
Well, hold on, before we do that, we have to set a date, John.
Well, I was going to make, okay.
So, the cable and I guess everyone's schedules too. What are we looking at for the next meeting? And John, if you can just refresh our memories as to when the next Strawberry Field is, just so we don't interfere with that.
Sure. So the next Strawberry Fields meeting is September 30th, and the week prior, on the 23rd, is our next regular meeting.
So, okay. So, John, so if that was going to be motion, or if there's any motion to continue, it would be to the 23rd, you said, John?
Yeah, September 23rd is our next regular meeting. Strawberry Fields is the 30th, the week after. I will note the 23rd has a Board of Selectmen meeting at 6 p.m. and then Zoning Board is at 7 p.m. So, theoretically, Mr. Aguirre might not be able to make it if he has to go to the Board of Selectmen for some reason. So, yeah, I would say if we get a letter in writing from him, that would probably suffice.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yep, go ahead, John. It's Greg, right?
What's the chances of us stopping to not doing it by VI Zoom? I see other boards are starting to meet. I'm just throwing that out.
Since our last meeting, I have heard from people in town that boards are starting to meet. As long as we're following the protocol, I'm not opposed to it. John, do you know the number of people at the top of your head? What the town's currently doing?
At
So-
Old Town Hall, it's 13.
Upstairs or downstairs?
In the upstairs Old Town Hall meeting room.
Upstairs, Old Town Hall. Okay, Old Town Hall is 13. Okay,
That's 13 residents, not the.
but that's so 13
13
people,
total.
13
Right,
total, yep,
Yeah. and we got-
including board, including applicant, including cable.
yeah,
exactly.
We got 16 on this monitor right now that I can see. So that one.
So hypothetically, if we had another case, that's fine. They would just have to wait outside until the applicant was done.
I just think we can get much more done and much more easier for us if we weren't on Zoom.
know.
Everybody agrees.
Greg, I
It's
know. I feel
difficult,
the same way.
you know.
But again, I mean, that's also up to the applicant too. And, it's not fair for, if it's him or anyone else that, or the applicant or the attorney, if they don't feel content doing that too, we can't also, if we have offered to do this via Zoom too. So I don't want to put anyone in any kind of discomfort either too, Greg, that's all.
Oh, I agree 100%. I just want to start getting back to
Yep.
reality. That's all.
No, I know.
So I guess, and I agree with everybody, we definitely need to get back to reality, and other committees are beginning to do that. But seeing that right now we already know if we do this, we're going to be potentially going beyond, unless the abutters feel that they've already stated their case and they, don't want to show up at an in-person meeting. I'm not suggesting they shouldn't. I'm saying, I don't know if they feel it's
Right.
necessary. We've heard from them.
Correct.
So if that's the case, then that would put us under that 13 count, assuming there are no other abutters that show up with that for any reason.
Right.
So,
Right.
If there's other cases, again, they could wait in the vestibule or out in their cars until we're finished. So,
Yeah.
or whatever. So I would propose, if it's possible, the problem with the 23rd is that is now where the Board of Selectmen meets.
Right.
In Old Town Hall. So we could not meet at 7 on the 23rd and have a live meeting.
Cable, is that still going to be the case? Are they still planning on meeting at Old Town Hall? Or are
Correct.
they going to be changing that? They are. They are. Okay.
typically do the second and the fourth Wednesdays, typically.
And they're officially going to be meeting at Old Town Hall.
Yes, they actually moved all their
Okay.
desks to do that permanently going forward.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which raises the question of whether or not we want to do it virtually, or are we potentially wanting to change the date to the 22nd or 24th, if that's possible?
As long as cable's free, it doesn't matter to me what day.
It doesn't look like I have anything on our calendar as of right now. It should be free.
Laura, you don't cover the school committee meetings, correct?
We do not.
Okay.
So Jonathan Gray, is there anything on the 22nd or the 24th?
So the 22nd, 22nd has a school committee meeting at 6:30 p.m., but cable's not covering that, so we're good. And then the 24th, there is nothing.
That's a Thursday. Okay. Other committee members? I feel like I'm orchestrating this. But since
No,
I'm-
if you're going to make that part of the motion, that's fine with me. But I would just say,
that's
I
why
would
I'm just
think-
trying to kind of get it down, Zach, so that we know where we're going with this.
Yeah, I would just keep that part tentative just for now. I don't want to say we're going to make the motion that's going to be in person, and it turns out we can't because there's more people going to come than we think. So
Yep.
I say that we can. As long as we post that 48 hours in advance, we don't have to decide today exactly where it's going to be, but
Okay.
the when is necessary.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think maybe if we say that it'll be on Zoom and then have an in-person option, which would be determined based on, the availability of the room and such. I think if we have the meeting on Zoom, but I guess, leave the option open of potentially having it in person as well, you could have it be sort of a hybrid.
Sure, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever's safer and easier. That's all I care about.
Cable, I think they're doing that, aren't they? They're doing the meetings at the Old Town Hall now, also in Zoom and live at the same time. Am I right?
We're not able to do that, but if somebody in the room, like if John Gray had his laptop in there, he would be able to do it through Zoom that way. We would just have to log in with an account. We're just not able, we don't have the equipment over there to use Zoom. We just have our
Oh, okay.
switcher that records with the cameras that are built into the walls there.
Zach, can I talk to you about this? You seeing how I'm hearing all this difficulties? Why don't we keep it
Yeah.
the 23rd for this next meeting? And we'll try doing something the following month. I just see that other boards, I've gone to Brockton, I've met with the planning board and live. I've also done ZBA in Brockton last month, and they were open, but they only let certain people into the room. This particular case, there is over 16 people on this meeting right here alone. I think we should.
And
just
I do know we do have someone that wants to come before us in September, so we all will know that someone will have to wait outside. So
Yeah. I'm
I
just
want to
saying.
interrupt you, but I want you to know that I already have that answer. So
Yeah, and then then maybe we can revisit it that month and then try to do something virtual, because I think doing it through the Zoom is very difficult.
Yes,
for all
it is.
people.
no, I know. So I do think it's something that we need to keep in mind and shoot for maybe the meeting in October. But yeah, I think the logistics right now we got to get some more things in place before we make that definite.
I agree.
Okay.
Are these dates okay with Roy?
Yes, that's what we need to ask.
Sure, I don't have a life, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
All right.
then I will make a motion that we continue this meeting until the 23rd of September via Zoom. And that at that meeting, we request in advance a written, unless he can appear in person, a written determination, I guess is the way I would put it, or determination / explanation from the town building inspector, Jim Aguirre. And also that the applicant through Roy provide us with some additional information as discussed to validate what we would be able to use as, I don't know, an approval explanation. I don't know how else to put that.
Can I
So,
ask a question
sorry,
to
Mr. Gale, can you just clarify that's the 23rd of September at 7 p.m. on Zoom?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Is there a second? If there was a second, the sound cut out, so I couldn't hear it. Sorry, guys.
Michelle Lima, I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
This is Mr. Gale. The only thing I would ask Roy is that whatever you come up with, if you could get it to us via Jonathan Gray in advance so that we all have a chance to, at least read what you're, even if it's just an outline.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. My question to Jonathan Gray would be that many of the variances that I find recorded at the Registry of Deeds do not give the whole decisions, and I'm wondering if that would be available in your office for us to access. If we find an address, whether you'd be able to find it, how many years back some of the decisions goes, because I've seen them from the mid 90s to the 2000s and so on. Several of these frontage variances, and I would need to see the decision and what was written. And I don't know how the records are, that I just don't know that.
So to answer your question, Mr. Delano, there's some records we definitely have. It would have to be on a case-by-case basis to let you know whether I have the records or not. If I have the decision for a case that you reference, I can definitely find it and pull it out for you, but there's not necessarily a guarantee that I have everything.
Okay.
Okay, so Michelle, you second, right?
Yes, I did.
All right. Is there any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So it's been continued to the next meeting. So anyone here for that case? You guys are all set. there'll be no more discussion of the case tonight on the meeting. So you guys are all set. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Are we still staying on? Are we adjourning?
I don't think we have anything. I mean, I know there's nothing else on the agenda, right, John?
Yep, that was it.
Oh, Jonathan,
So we,
Gray? Hello?
Yes.
yep.
Oh, sorry. Hey, on the meeting draft that you sent over for the 729, under the case 01-20, just fix the address to 2276. It's just 276. One of the twos was left out on the
Yeah, that those minutes were very, very rough. I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if we were going.
Good check.
Yeah, thank you. That I will double check. I appreciate
Okay.
that.
All right, board members, is there anything else anyone has? Anything else they want to share? Obviously not involving any cases, but anything that they haven't, then you say I want to say?
No, I just want to say I agree with Greg. I think hopefully we can get back to the in-person meetings pretty soon. I think.
I think we can. I mean, to be honest with you, I wanted to a lot sooner, but I think Jonathan, Gray, out of curiosity, is if we were to meet downstairs, does that change the number of people, or are there no meetings allowed downstairs right now?
Are you talking about downstairs at Old Town Hall or
where we typically have our zoning board meetings?
that meeting room has a maximum occupancy of 4. So the biggest meeting room that the town currently has at Town Hall or Old Town Hall is the Old Town Hall, Grange Hall space, which I think someone mentioned was either 11 or 13. So the problem with that is that the sound is quality in that room. It can be a little challenging at times.
It is.
So that's the other thing.
What's the, out of curiosity, what's the capacity in the selectmen's meeting room?
That's no longer a meeting room anymore.
It's going to be reconstructed.
Oh,
Yeah, they
geez.
just
Wow,
Zach, they just had a meeting before ours for a dangerous animal, and they were all on Zoom. Because there was
wow.
Yeah, it was today at I think 5.
Wow, yeah, I haven't been down there, so I think I've been down there once, Jonathan Gray, since all this started, right? I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's challenging. There's not many great options as far as meeting rooms go.
And you know what? To be honest, looking at all this, it's not even COVID related. I guess aside from the capacity of 4, but not having the selectmen not meeting in a room, that alone just puts a hold on things. And now I assume that are they going to eventually move over somewhere else, or is that what it's going to be from now on?
For the selectmen,
Yeah.
they are permanently going to meet in Old Town Hall, that upstairs meeting room that we were talking about that has the 13 capacity.
Yeah.
Going forward, even post-COVID, that's going to be their meeting room.
Okay. So it looks like, guys, I mean, not anything worth discussing right now, but we're going to have to officially vote on a new meeting day then, because it's, until the capacity is lifted on the lower town hall, we're never going to be able to do what we're supposed to. So in person, at least. So that would have to be something we got to keep on our radar for another time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
In the meantime, I guess this is Jonathan Gale. I guess I will make a motion that we adjourn for this evening until our next meeting date, which will be the 23rd at 7 p.m.
Of
September.
Greg Logan, I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, guys. Thanks, guys.
you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Guys.